Today's video is sponsored by Taylor Brands. There was one lesson that changed my entire candle business. I remember going into work one day when I was younger, and it was one of my first jobs. And I was going in for what was called an evaluation, an employee review. And the way this company did their reviews was that you started with a self-evaluation or a self-assessment. And you would answer all these questions about your performance and what you thought about where you kind of measured. And then you would sit down with your managers and your supervisors, and they would give you their feedback, and then you would compare it to your assessment. And there's a lot of reasons for doing that type of strategy, that type of evaluation. But it was the first one I'd ever done. And I remember thinking to myself when I was filling out my own self-assessment, I remember consciously thinking, how do they want me to answer? I mean, surely they're looking for something here, right? So you're always told when you're going into interviews that you want to exude confidence. You want to look confident and in control and like you know that you are the best person for the job. So that was the strategy I had convinced myself to go with when doing the self-assessment. I answered the questions, exaggerating my performance, my ability, thinking that that was what they would want to hear. So I go into the review with my managers, and we do the whole thing. They give me their feedback, and across the board, it's pretty good. But then the focus turned to my self-assessment and why I was so high on myself as an employee. And I don't want to make it sound like I was just constantly bragging and tooting my own horn on that evaluation. It was just every question that was asked, you know, do you exceed or meet expectations? If so, why? What do you find are your strengths? That kind of stuff. I focused on all the good that I was doing, and then just tried to really make myself look like an A-rated employee, which is great. But there's a difference between confidence and bullshit. And these assessments are meant to wade through that and figure it out. So let's fast forward a little bit. I did another one of these self-evaluations. And this time I thought, all right, they don't want overconfidence. Maybe the better approach is to kind of pretend I'm under-delivering and see if I can get more feedback on, yeah, you're actually doing better than that. So I went for a reverse tactic. And during that review with my bosses, it was kind of the opposite. So I had a good, solid review, just like the last one. But in this time, they thought, you know, maybe you're being too hard on yourself. You're being too critical. You're doing an excellent job. And it was more praise than it was anything else. And the point that I'm trying to make is in both of those situations, there was something to learn. Now, most people, when talking about themselves, usually exaggerate and fall into one categories. One is the exaggerate on the high side, like overconfidence. And the other side, of course, is usually too critical. Well, in both those situations and in both of those reviews that I gave the example of, I learned something a little bit different. And just like people have a tendency to fall into a certain category when talking about themselves, there's also a default response that most people give back to you, a default feedback. And if you are someone who exudes a lot of confidence, most of the feedback is going to be acknowledging what you do well, but really focus on these things that you can improve. Whereas if you're someone that is usually overcritical, well, then the feedback is usually, well, sure, there's some things you have to improve on, but here's what you're really doing well. And so you can see that depending on how you project something, the feedback's almost like an inverse reaction. But either way, you're learning something new by going through this process. So what does that have to do with candle making? I'm glad you asked. Hi everyone, my name is Wade. I'm the owner of Black Tie Barn, and I run this YouTube channel where we talk about candle making and running a small business. And before I go any further, let me know what you think about this shirt that I made. So I've kind of borrowed the concept and then I changed it to fit like a handcrafter, like all of us. So let me know what you think about it. It does say Black Tie Barn, but that's not necessarily has to be there for other people, because if you guys like this shirt, I'm actually working on stuff like this and several other designs for other handcrafters and candle makers and business owners. And so I'm just curious if you like this. I've got others, but let me know in the comments what you think about the shirt. Anyways, back to today's lesson. There was one lesson that changed my entire candle business, and I still stick to that today. And the quickest way to tell you what the lesson is to simply be the customer. Put yourself in your customer's shoes. And I mean from the way your products look and feel and are priced, as well as how they burn and how they perform. And the best way to be the customer is to do a self-assessment. So that is how I tied in the self-evaluation intro of this video, even though it was a little long-winded. I really believe you guys can get a lot of value out of this video, so I hope you stick with me to the end. So let's talk about how we're going to do this self-evaluation. The first thing that I want you to think about when you put yourself in your customer's shoes is the look and the feel. Like, what does your candle look like? The label. You're as a customer, it's the first time you're seeing these products. Now, self-assessments are difficult. They really are, because you're judging yourself, you're judging your own product, and it's hard to be objective. But walking through these steps and these processes that I'm going to kind of talk about in this video should make that a little easier and at least put you in a different kind of frame of mind. So the first thing we're going to do in a self-assessment is focus on the look and the feel. The way the candle actually sits on the shelf, and I mean that quite literally. So one cool tip that I learned several years ago was to take one of your finished products, or a couple, take them into a store. Actually take your candles and put it on the shelf with the other candles. So go to a store that sells candles and you get to actually see what yours looks like on a shelf compared to the rest. Then I want you to close your eyes, think of something else, walk around that aisle, and then come back and just take a look at the shelf. Does yours stand out? Are you drawn to yours, or are you really kind of more drawn to others? And be completely honest. Now, I don't necessarily mean fancier or brighter or anything like that. It's just start to shop the shelf as a customer. Is there anything that draws you to your candle? And if so, take note of that. What is it? And if not, why? What do the other candles have that draw your attention that yours might not? And the one thing, you have to be kind of careful with this, because some stores might look at you kind of weird, like, what are you doing? You brought in your own candle. Hopefully they see that, because if you take your candle and put it in your bag or something as you walk out, you're going to look like you're stealing. So be careful. You may even ask for permission. Depending on the store, you might not have any problems at all. But seeing your candle sit on a shelf among others actually puts you in a different state of mind. Like, you cannot help but notice other products. And so you get a chance to evaluate yours from a different perspective. Then I want you to go a little bit further and start sniff testing that shelf. So sniff a few other candles, sniff yours, sniff a few others. What did you think? Did yours stand out again during that sniff test? Was it stronger? Was it weaker? Did you like your fragrance just type better? And then ask yourself, honestly, would you pick your candle off the shelf? If you could only pick one or two candles, would yours be one of those, or would you pick something else? And be completely honest with yourself. Like, this is just you and you. So you can be completely honest. And if you would pick your candle, why? And if you wouldn't, why not? Now look at the price of the other candles. Is the price something that's going to affect your decision on whether you pick your candle off the shelf versus another? Why or why not? And you just keep asking yourself these type of questions. Shop like a customer, and then take note of what you're thinking when you're doing that. Now, another huge benefit to seeing your candle, your product sitting on the shelf among others is noticing the branding. What products are drawing your eyes and why? It's usually about branding. It could be the label, the look, the name of the company, the name of the scent, the whole design. It's all one big package, and we call that package branding. And if you are new to running a business or interested in starting a business and trying to figure out where to go from here, especially if you're in the early stages, focus on branding as soon as you can. Because branding not only helps get your products in the hands of customers to begin with, but hopefully keeps them coming back for more. And so creating a consistent, well thought out brand is very, very important, which is a perfect time to tell you about today's sponsor, Tailor Brands. Tailor Brands is an AI-driven one-stop shop for aspiring small business owners with everything you need to jumpstart your business. That can be a logo maker, an LLC, branding and packaging, website, domain, a business mailbox, online and physical business cards, social media tools, and much more. So if you're ready to start creating your business, or if you already have a business and you're ready to just stand out a bit more, then let's go. Now, what's really nice about Tailor Brands is they actually have a checklist for you to follow so you don't miss out on any important step that might help your branding and your business. The first step is to start with a logo. Tailor Brands helps you do just that. Then you can check to see if the domain name that you want is available. And if it is, you can purchase it. Next, if you need a website, Tailor Brands can help you out with that, as well as they do have an included website builder. And at the time of making this video, we're in 2022, and physical business cards are not near as common as they used to be. Well, Tailor Brands can help you create a digital business card. But now that you've got a logo, maybe you also want some merch to go with your business. You can actually design merchandise options with the logo that you designed right on their site. Like I said, it's an all-in-one solution. But we haven't even gotten to the best part, and that is creating an LLC. You may start your candle business as a single sole proprietor, but you might decide down the road that you want to form an LLC, which is a separate legal business entity. Well, Tailor Brands can actually help you do that, help you create and register your LLC and take care of it all in the same place that you did everything else. And you can do everything that I've just talked about for $8.99 a month, and you can give it a try for free. So let Taylor Brands handle most of this grunt work for you so that you can focus on what's most important for you and your business, which is making great products. So if you're interested in checking out Taylor Brands, click on the link in the description below and use code BLACKTIEBARNYT to get 40% off. Next, you've picked a candle, you're gonna burn that candle. Hopefully you picked yours, but if not, go home, grab one of your candles, and you're gonna do a burn test as if you bought that candle from the store. Again, acting, behaving, and thinking like a customer. Light your candle and watch how it burns. Don't watch it from the perspective of you as the candle maker. Don't be overly critical on how quick you're getting a melt pool and watching the wick and how much carbon buildup and is it curling too much and all these things that candle makers care about that no one else does. Forget all that. Light your candle, walk around your house, do some chores. Try to take your mind off the fact that you're testing a candle. Just light it like a customer. And then just see if you start detecting the scent, because that's what a customer would do. They don't sit there and analyze and watch their candle burn. They will walk around and do other things, and hopefully they start smelling the candle. If you start to smell a candle, how strong is that scent? Is it pleasant? Do you like the way it's burning now that you've noticed it? Move the candle from a small room to a medium-sized room to a large room and then to an open area. And think about how it behaved and performed differently in each of those size rooms. Take note of those results. Maybe it was super strong in a small room, but not very good in a large room. Well, that tells you a little bit about that candle and where it performs best. Forget to trim your wick a couple times. See what happens. Be a customer, don't trim your wick, go back to light it. How does it respond? How does it react? It might not burn perfectly when you do that, but that's the nature of how customers burn their candles. And it's an important lesson. It's good to know how your candles behave when a customer does that. Now, we know that you as a candle maker are not going to do that with your candles, but it's good to get a better idea how your candles behave and act when that is done. All right, so now that you've burned the candle, the next step is to provide a little bit of feedback to the business. So again, pretend that you bought this from someone else and you want to leave a review. Open up your email yourself like you're doing a review. Give yourself a rating out of 5 stars. Would you give this a 5-star rating, a 4, a 3, or maybe even a 1? If so, why? Now in that review, besides just rating with a star, I also want you to mention the best thing about the candle, what you like the most, as well as what you didn't like about the candle, and maybe why you gave it the rating that you did. And again, do this objectively and honestly, be brutally honest with yourself. Now, go review your social media post and your marketing, any ads that you might be running, your website, read your descriptions and your pictures, and compare the actual results of you burning this candle to what your marketing seems to be promising. After using it, does it hold up to the expectations that you as a maker set for your products? If so, why? Or does it fall a little flat? And if so, why? And the most important thing in business is returning customers. So the next question to ask yourself is, would you buy your candle again? Looked at it in a store, you've evaluated everything about it, you've burned it, you've tested it, you've taken notes, you've provided feedback to the business owner, yourself, and now it's just, would I buy this candle again? If so, why? And if not, why not? All right, well, now your assessment is over. You have completed your self-evaluation of your own product, hopefully being as honest and objective as possible. Now, it's time to compare that to your managers or your bosses or the feedback from someone external. Because you don't have a boss, you're the business owner, because you don't have a supervisor, because you're the candle maker, the best choice is just to find some kind of test group to provide the same feedback that you just performed on yourself. My advice is to find a couple friends, a couple family members, and a couple strangers. And the reason I like that is you will get wildly different perspective from each of them, but it's all helpful. Some will be brutally honest because they know you and they are your friend or family. And then others will focus on what's great about your product and try to make you feel warm and fuzzy. And then the others don't really know you or care, and they're just gonna give objective opinions. Provide them a form, just like the self-assessment that you finished for yourself, and have them answer these questions honestly. Give each one of them an open-ended question where they can write a response, as well as a rating system, 5 stars, for example. When you're all done, compare their results and their feedback to your own self-assessment, just like I did when I walked in for my employee review, as I talked about in the introduction of this video. By comparing those results and seeing what others think of your product versus what you think of your product can be very, very beneficial. Whether they're close or they're very different, you learn a lot. I started doing this in my business years ago, and I learned so much about my products that I could tell you everything about them in and out and how they behave in different situations. And if something goes wrong, what I could tweak or change. You just learn so much about yourself as a maker and your products. But not only that, you know your strengths and weaknesses. So if a customer is looking for something specific or asks you a question, you can focus on your strengths while trying to improve your weaknesses on the back end. There's just so much valuable information you can get from doing this strategy. If nothing else, it's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's just interesting to do this. So I hope you all give this a shot because it is really, really valuable. And just remember to focus on trying to be the customer. Thank you everyone for watching. As usual, if you're not already a subscriber to this channel and you want to watch more videos about candle making and running a candle business, then hit subscribe below. It's completely free, and hit that little bell icon as well. That will tell the YouTube to basically notify you whenever I post new videos. If you're interested in checking out Taylor Brands, click on the link in the description below and use code BlackTieBarnYT to get 40% off. So with that being said, get out there and start judging your products because everyone else is.